We're going to be starting a new book today. We, I Am. I read this book when I was a little kid, or we read it parts of it in school. It's Anne Frank. I always thought it was the Diary of Anne Frank. Well, it is Anne Frank's diary, but apparently the official title is called Anne Frank: The Diary of a Young Girl. If you don't know who I am, then you think I'm crazy. No, I'm just kidding. If you don't know who I am, if you don't know who I am, of course you don't know who I am. But I'm Gregory Brandt, and I wrote a book that's called Gonzo Education. Gonzo? Yeah, Gonzo, and I'm not talking about the purple guy from Sesame Street either. I know Muppets, whatever, super same thing. But and if you do know what Gonzo is, I heard somebody else say, like, Gonzo, what you think you're Hunter S. Thompson? Huh? He's the only Gonzo. No, look up Gonzo journalism. All right, my book that I wrote is Gonzo journalism. It's called Gonzo Education. Okay, you can also find it under homeless college student. It starts when I drop out of high school and it ends when I graduate from one of the top universities in the United States. This book, um, it's not familiar, but what this book I know will do, it will teach you to not complain. Okay, don't complain. Okay, because this girl, she was just a few days from living a life, and from what I know, she was a great person, a very um, precocious young person, and she shouldn't have had her life taken away from her. The last 2 years of her life, she had to live hiding from the Nazis, and it's horrible what happened then. And anytime I find myself complaining or being bitter or resentful about my own life, I think about the people that are currently incarcerated in jail, um, like the are innocent people that are in jail. I think about people that had that passed on in the Holocaust. I think about all that things. But we'll get into the book. This is the introduction, so I'm like, oh, it's okay for me to talk. I'm not. I'm going to read the introduction and a little bit more. So the back of the book. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. Discovered in the attic in which she spent the last years of her life, Anne Frank's remarkable diary has since become a world classic, a powerful reminder of the horrors of war and an eloquent testament of the human spirit. In 1942, with Nazi occupying Holland, a 13-year-old Jewish girl and her family fled their home in Amsterdam and went into hiding. For the next 2 years, until their whereabouts were betrayed to the Gestapo, and another family lived cloistered in the secret annex of an old office building cut off from the outside world, they faced hunger, boredom, the constant cruelties of living in confined quarters, and the ever-present threat of discovery and death. In her diary, Anne Frank recorded vivid impressions of her experiences during this period. By turns thoughtful, moving, and amusing, her accounts offers a fascinating commentary on human courage and frailty, and a compelling and self-portrait of a sensitive and spirited young woman whose promise was tragically cut short. A truly remarkable book, the New York Times. Wonder what they're going to say about my book. But anyways, we're not talking about my book. We're talking about Anne Frank. I remember this book, when I read it, it was like in 6th grade, or no. It was 7th grade, I think. It was the year that Jim Carrey became popular in Ace Ventura, whatever, when the first Ace Ventura movie came out. And I remember a survivor of the Holocaust came to my class like once or twice a week, and we would read this book. But at that time, me and my twin brother, we grew up without parents. So when we were in 6th or 7th grade, our brains were more like 2nd or 3rd graders because we had such little. Even when we were like 4 or 5 years old, we had no parents. Our dad was a sociopath, horrible person, locked us in a closet in the garage. Our mother was schizophrenic and was in a mental institution, or didn't have custody of us anyways. And so we had got such a late start in life. We were always a few years behind when we first started. Even preschool, they were like, yeah, they have speaking problems. Oh, it's because nobody ever spoke to us before. But anyways, this is about me. I don't know why I just said all that. I don't know how I got from Anne Frank to where I was. But oh, okay, yeah. When I first read this book, like I had no idea what was going on. I'm like, Holland? Is that Germany? But I have always kept an open mind, so I've learned, and now I'm actually mature enough to read and understand this book. But when it was going on, like I couldn't follow any reading. Like I guess they would read in class, and I just wouldn't like follow along. I'd just be like, thinking in my head and stuff. Okay. At the end of the Second World War, Otto Frank, Anne Frank's father and the only surviving family member, returned to Amsterdam. Mike's Geist Ellie Bip, who had protected and sustained the group hiding in the secret annex, presented Mr. Frank with notebooks and papers in Anne's handwriting that had been rejected by the Gestapo when they arrested the families. So her father is the only one that survived, and he's the one that published her diary. Otto Frank circulated copies of, and it's so weird, man. Like, it's sad. It gives me a little chill. Like, Anne Frank was alive so long ago, and she was only like, she died when she was like 14 or something, like a young girl. But it seems like she lived like a full life because she's always been in like the American and world psyche. It's just like, when I think about her, it's just like thank you, Anne Frank, for existing. You've touched so many and moved so many people, and I hope you know that. Otto Frank circulated copies of Anne's diary to friends as a memorial to his wife and daughters. He was urged to make it public and finally published an edited version in 1947. Since then, it has been translated into more than 30 languages and adapted for theater, film, and television. Scholarly investigations into the life and work of Anne Frank continue to this day under the auspices of the Anne Frank Foundation in Amsterdam. The following pages contain supplemental material to enrich readers' understanding of this remarkable young woman and the portrait of courage that is her legacy. Well, that's what I was just saying. It's going to be hard not to tear up during this book. I'm going to have to take a lot of breaks during it. I'm kind of an emotional guy. And when I'm reading these books, I'm reading them from the first. I'm looking at pictures of the actual building they lived in. But I'm reading this from the first time, so it's a cute picture of her smiling. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, translated from the Dutch Dubelde, with an introduction by Eleanor Roosevelt. Okay. So Eleanor Roosevelt, of course, she was married to Franklin D. Roosevelt. They were actually first cousins, but she was one of the most famous first ladies. My favorite U.S. president is a distant cousin of Franklin D. Roosevelt, which is Teddy Roosevelt. Okay, but this first published in 1947 in Holland. Okay, this says copyright 1952, Doubleday 1967. Okay. Het Artsens, the Dutch title of this book, refers to the part of the building which served as a hiding place for the two families who took shelter there between 1942 and 1944. Achter means behind or in the back, and Buis is the Dutch for house. In Amsterdam's old buildings, the apartments overlooked a garden or court may be divided from those overlooking the street, thus providing two separate suites within the same apartment. Het Utsken, or literally the house behind, is situated on the Pointsgat, one of the city's canals. To simplify the English text, we called the part of the house the secret annex, although it is not an annex in the proper sense of the word. Introduction. This is a remarkable book written by a young girl, and the young are not afraid of telling the truth. It is one of the wisest and most moving commentaries on war and its impact on human beings that I have ever read. Anne Frank's account of the changes right upon 8 people hiding out from the Nazis for 2 years during the occupation of Holland, living in constant fear and isolation, imprisoned not only by the terrible outward circumstances of war, but inwardly by themselves, made me intimately and shockingly aware of war's greatest evil, the degradation of human spirit. At the same time, Anne's diary makes poignantly clear the ultimate shining nobility of that spirit. Despite the horror and the humiliation of their daily lives, these people never gave up. Anne herself, and most of all, it is her portrait which emerges so vividly and so appealingly from this book, matured very rapidly in those 2 years. The crucial years from 13 to 15, in which change is so swift and so difficult for every young girl. Sustained by her warmth and her wit, her intelligence, and her rich resources of her inner life, Anne wrote and thought much of the time about things which were sensitive and talented adolescents without the threat of death will write. Her relations with her parents, her developing self-awareness, the problems of growing up. These are the thoughts and expressions of a young girl living under extraordinary conditions, and for this reason, her diary tells us much about ourselves and about our own children. And for this reason, too, I felt how close we all are to Anne's experiences, how much involved we are in her short life and in the entire world. Anne's diary is an appropriate monument to her fine spirit and to the spirits of those who have worked and are still working for peace. Reading it is a rich and rewarding experience. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. One of Jordan Peterson's rules for life, 12 rules for life, is the person that you're talking to or reading about, assume that they know something that you don't. And I was just thinking when I was reading that, what is Anne Frank going to teach me? I'm so thankful and grateful that she had a diary. She maybe did it and maybe thought for a second, had second thoughts about writing it, like, oh, why am I doing this? Nobody's going to read this, isn't important. But yeah, it is really important. Just like making this video is really important. I'm 38 years old now. 10 years ago, I was 28. I wish I would have started doing these videos then. I have another channel called Brandt Rants, where I just talk for 10 minutes. And it's just like a 10-minute diary. And even though like I'm not having subscribers, I'm not making money on it, I really wish I would have done that 10 or 15 or 20 years ago when I was 18. Just made a short 10-minute video every day. I'm good at talking. It's something that I do. It doesn't hurt anybody. Deepak Chopra says, relinquish the ego. There's great strength in that. And so, think how many people, millions of people, this young girl helped and moved and touched and inspired. And all that came from her little diary entries. It would have been really easy to be like, oh, I'm not going to write these. We're stuck in this position. We're never going to get out of here. Nobody's ever going to read these. But thank God, thank God she did. Thank God she relinquished the ego. I was like, I'm writing this. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl. I hope I shall be able to confide in you completely, as I never been able to do in anyone before, and I hope that you will be a great support and comfort to me. That's from Anne Frank. Sunday, June 14th, 1942. On Friday, June 12th, 2 days before she wrote this, I woke up at 6 o'clock and no wonder, it was my birthday. Whoa, that's today. Huh. It's after midnight. It's June 12th. It's not 1942, but it's Anne Frank's birthday. Wow, I got chills, dude. That's so crazy. What are the odds of that? 1 in 365 that I would start this book on her birthday. I'm not even usually up after midnight. 82, 92, 2002, 2012. She would be, it was 76 years. Oh, wow, dude. Oh, my goodness gracious. It's 76 years from this diary entry. And if she was alive to now, she would only be like 88. I have friends at church that are in their 90s. She would be younger than that. Wow, that is just unbelievable. I got goosebumps. It's today's Anne Frank's birthday. I'm reading Anne Frank's diary. It's moments like that where I'm like, wow, there's got to be a God, because the odds of that just happening naturally are 1 in 365 at least. Okay. It was my birthday, but of course I was not allowed to get up at that hour, so I had to control my curiosity until 6:45. Then I could bear it no longer and went to the dining room, where I received a warm welcome from Mutri, the cat. Soon after 7, I went to Mommy and Daddy and then to the sitting room to undo my presents. The first to greet me was you, possibly the nicest of all. Then on the table were a bunch of roses, a plant, and some peonies, and more arrived that day. I got masses of things from Mommy and Daddy and was thoroughly spoiled by various friends. Among other things, I was given a camera obscura, a party game, lots of sweets, chocolates, a puzzle, a brooch, Tales and Legends of the Netherlands by Joseph Cohen, Daisy's Mountain Holiday, a terrific book, and some money. Now I can buy the Myths of Greece and Rome, grand. Then the lies called for me, and we went to school. During recess, I treated everyone to sweet biscuits, and then we had to go back to our lesson. Now I must stop. Bye-bye, we're going to be great pals. I think she's writing to the cat she just got. Monday, June 15th, 1942. I had my birthday party on Sunday afternoon. We showed a film, The Lighthouse Keeper, with Rin Tin Tin. I've seen that movie. Wow, this is going to be hard to read, dude, because you can tell she's a very, eloquent, intelligent person. He knows what happens to her. She reminds me of Lisa Simpson. My favorite Simpson, because she's smart. We had a lovely time. There were lots of girls and boys. Mommy always wants to know where I'm going to marry. Little does she guess that it's Peter Weasel. One day I managed, without blushing or flickering an eyelid, to get that idea right out of her mind. For years, Lies Goosens and Son Hoffman have been my best friends. Since then, I've got to know Jopi DeWall of the Jewish secondary school. We are together a lot, and she is now my best friend. Liz is more friendly with another girl, and San goes to a different school where she has made new friends. We're going to go through Saturday, June 20th, 1942. That's crazy. I was mentioning she has sometimes she has more than one entry in a day, and like those Brandt rant videos, sometimes I do more than one entry in a day. I'm not saying I'm Anne Frank. I'm just saying I like that coincidence. I know what her mentality was. I haven't written for a few days because I wanted first of all to think about my diary. It's an odd idea for someone like me to keep a diary. Not only because I have never done so before, but because it seems to me that neither I, nor for that matter anyone else, will be interested in the bombings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. Wow. I was just talking about why I'm doing it too, and I'm so glad that she decided to write this diary. Still, what does that matter? I want to write, but more than that, I want to bring out all kinds of things that lie buried deep in my heart. There is a saying that paper is more patient than man. It came back to me on one of my slightly melancholy days while I sat chin in hand, feeling too bored and limp even to make up my mind whether to go out or stay home. Yes, there is no doubt that paper is patient, and I don't intend to show this cardboard covered notebook bearing the proud name of diary to anyone unless I find a real friend, boy or girl, probably nobody cares. And now I come to the root of the matter, the reason for my starting a diary. It is that I have no such real friend. Let me put it more clearly. Since no one will believe that a girl of 13 feels herself quite alone in the world, nor it is so, I have darling parents and a sister of 16. I know about 30 people whom one might call friends. I have strings of boyfriends anxious to catch a glimpse of me and who, failing that, peep at me through mirrors in class. I have relations, aunts, and uncles who are darlings too. A good home, no. I don't seem to lack anything, but it's the same with all my friends, just fun and joking, nothing more. I can never bring myself to talk of anything outside the common round. We don't seem to be able to get any closer. That is the root of the trouble. Perhaps I lack confidence, but anyways, there it is, a stubborn fact that I don't seem to be able to do anything about it. I like, I was just reading, the last book I read is Jordan Peterson, so this is a pleasant surprise. Hence this diary, in order to enhance in my mind's eye the picture of the friend for whom I have waited so long. I don't want to set down a series of bald facts in a diary like most people do, but I want this diary itself to be a friend, and I shall call my friend Kitty. No one will grasp what I'm talking about if I begin my letters to Kitty just out of the blue, so albeit unwillingly, I will start by sketching in a brief the story of my life. When my father was 36 when he married my mother, who was 25. My sister Margot was born in 1926 in Franklin in Maine. I followed on June 12, 1929, and as we are Jewish, we immigrated to Holland in 1933 where my father was appointed managing director of Travis N.V. This firm is to close relationship with the firm of Colin and Company in the same building, of which my father is a partner. The rest of our family, however, felt the full impact of Hitler's anti-Jewish laws, so life was filled with anxiety. In 1938, after the pogroms, my two uncle, that's what it says, pogroms, my two uncles, my mother's brothers, escaped to the USA. Oh, that's good. So they're, and Frank's uncles on his mom's side made it here. My old grandmother came to us. She was then 73. After May 1940, good times rapidly fled. First the war, then capitulation, followed by the arrival of the Germans, which is where the sufferings of us Jews really begin. Anti-Jewish decrees followed each other in quick succession. Jews must wear a yellow star. Jews must hand in their bicycles. Jews are banned from trams and are forbidden to drive. Jews are only allowed to do their shopping between 3 and 5 o'clock, and then only in shops with bear the place guard, Jewish shops. Jews must be indoors by 8 o'clock and cannot even sit in their own gardens after that hour. Jews are forbidden to visit theaters, cinemas, and other places of entertainment. Jews may not take part in public sports, swimming baths, tennis courts, hockey fields, and other sports grounds are all prohibited to them. Jews may not visit Christians. Jews must go to Jewish schools, and many restrictions of a similar kind. So we could not do this and were forbidden to do that, but life went on in spite of all that. Joby used to say to me, "You're scared to do anything because it may be forbidden." Our freedom was strictly limited, yet things were still bearable. Granny died in 1942. No one will ever know how much she is present in my thoughts and how much I love her still. In 1934, I went to school at the Montessori kindergarten and continued there. It was at the end of the school year, I was in Form 6B, when I had to say goodbye to Miss K. We both wept. It was very sad. In 1941, I went with my sister Margot to the Jewish secondary school. She into the fourth form and I into the first. So far, everything is still all right with the four of us here. I come to this present day. Okay, I'm going to read one more entry from Saturday, June 1942. Dear Kitty, I'll start straight away. It's so peaceful at this moment. Mommy and Daddy are out and Margot has gone to play ping pong with some friends. I've been playing ping pong a lot myself lately. We ping pongers are very partial to an ice cream, especially in summer, when one gets warm at the game, so we usually finish up with a visit to the nearest ice cream shop, Delphi or Oasis, where Jews are allowed. We're giving up scrounging for extra pocket money. We've given up scrounging for extra pocket money. Oasis is usually full, and among a large circle of friends, we always manage to find some kind-hearted gentleman or boyfriend who presents us with more ice cream than we could devour in a week. I expect you will be rather surprised at the fact that I should talk of boyfriends at my age. Alas, one simply can't seem to avoid it at our school. As soon as a boy asks if he may bicycle home with me and we get into a conversation, 9 out of 10 times I'm making sure that he will fall head over heels in love immediately and simply won't allow me out of his sight. After a while it cools down, of course, especially as I take little notice and ardent looks and pedal blithely on. If it gets so far that they begin about asking father, I swerve slightly on my bicycle, my satchel fails, the young man is bound to get off and hand it to me, by which time I have introduced a new topic of conversation. These are the most innocent types. You get some who blow kisses or try to get a hold of your arm, but then they are definitely knocking at the wrong door. I get off my bicycle and refuse to go further in their company, or I pretend to be insulted and tell them in no uncertain terms to clear off. Lots. There, the foundation of my friendship is laid. Till tomorrow. That was the first couple entries from Anne Frank's diary. I'm really enjoying this. I think it's going to be a really good book. If you watch this whole video, don't forget to click the thumbs up button. Thanks for listening, and more importantly, click the subscribe button. This channel is going to grow. I'm not going to give up. I keep on working on something until I get it perfect, or until I do it succeed. And I'm going to keep doing these until it's quality, the production value is quality. And thanks again.